Hi again and happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Mark Keller. We are glad to have you with us. The clock is about to strike midnight on the regular season of high school football. That's the bad news. The good news is we're going to have a record number of Washington County teams in the postseason this year. 3 county schools have locked up playoff berths. One is this close to doing so, and another has a fighter's chance heading into Friday's season finale. Herald Mail insider Bob Parcelletti joins me to look back at last week's games and look ahead to break down the playoff possibilities for those teams. The regular season is over in volleyball and the playoffs were underway Thursday. Dan Kaufman is here to take a look at the region brackets and discuss who could advance to the state quarterfinals next week. Plus, we'll let you know what's on the schedule at the region and state levels for soccer, golf, and cross country. Well, I'm ready. Are you? Bob Parcelletti is up first when Inside Sports returns right after this.
Cynthia Moeller-Sullivan of Sullivan Select Real Estate has been recognized by Homelight in 3 categories: top overall producer, top seller's agent, and top agent that sells for more. Unlike other real estate venues, agents cannot pay to be recognized by Homelight. If you are considering the sale of your home, call Cynthia for a free market analysis, 301-988-5115. When it comes to real estate, select the best with Sullivan Select.
Thank you for seeing us so quickly. He's just unbearable when he's sick.
I'm glad that you came right into Meritus Urgent Care.
We have just what you need to feel better faster, young bear.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Meritus Urgent Care is located off Moggins Avenue on Creighton Boulevard. For more information, visit meritushealth.com/urgent care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Let's start with some high school football. We'll bring in Herald Mail insider Bob Parcelletti. And Bob, let's talk some 1A football here first. And Clear Spring had an opportunity to wrap up their first playoff berth Monday night, some rare Monday night football here on the high school level. Didn't get it done. 29-13 loss to Southern Garrett. Clear Spring's got to wait another week to wrap up that playoff bid possibly.
Well, I guess you could say that maybe the shelf life of this game is what got them. I mean, they were supposed to play Friday in Southern Garrett, and the officials didn't show up. So they had to take the party and they moved it over to Clear Spring because I guess our officials will show up. And it seemed like what it got down to is that Southern Garrett found a way to run the ball. A lot of it seemed to be off right tackle, and they made a home out of it, and they just ground the clock out and took the win from them. And it basically ended a 3-game winning streak for Clear Spring, but it basically pushed them back into the pack again. They had a chance to get out ahead of everybody with the way it's all jumbled up right now, and they missed their chance.
Yeah, dropping them back to 4-4 there. We'll show you the field here in a little bit, how they did. One of the questions we kind of had about Clear Spring in terms of their depth is how they were going to stand up to a team that kind of grinds it out against them. I guess maybe we have a little preview of how they're going to handle that.
Well, they sort of had that in the win over Smithsburg, but they basically were the ones grinding. They took Smithsburg out of that. And really took away their run game. And this time they just couldn't stop the other team's run game. I think that they had a few injury problems. I didn't see the game. What I heard and what I read. But it looked like that they were trying to move guys around to fill some holes. Everybody, all hands on deck football.
Well, while Clear Spring was not able to wrap up the playoff bid, Williamsport did. They got a big win over a region foe last week, rallying to beat Mountain Ridge 27-23. Gives them a 5-3 record, assures them of a winning season. Taj Wagner, another big game running the ball, 128 yards. But Jared Snow, real quietly, as he's done most of the year, had a great game for the Wildcats. 9 of 10 passing, 144 yards, 3 touchdowns, including a big one at the end to Brady Neff.
And Williamsport keeps walking that tightrope because they, after going 3-1 to start the season, they're 2-2 right now, and their 2 wins are by a total of 9 points. And both in games where they had to come back from behind, So, I mean, they're walking a tightrope there because they could have, if 2 plays go the other direction, all of a sudden they're losing 4 in a row, So they're really fighting tooth and nail, and that can either hurt them or help them down the road in this because of the experience of it all.
We kind of thought last year would be the year that Williamsport kind of got back into the postseason. They do it this year, their first time since 2011. That's the only other time that Williamsport made the playoffs. I guess chemistry does mean something for the Wildcats. Let's go to Boonesboro. They lost their second straight, swept by the Hagerstown teams this season, losing to South Hagerstown 43-24. That drops them to 4-4 on the season. Real physical game, but the big story here was how South really kind of bottled up Ethan Holobenko, only 45 yards rushing in this game for Holobenko.
Well, South Hagerstown did about what I expected them to do. Because when I saw them against North High, I thought that was as hard a hitting defense as I've seen all year, and it was the first game. And in this game, they hit hard on defense, but they really hit hard on offense. Their running game, they're doing videos and looking at them, and just guys bouncing off of Boonesboro tacklers and going for extra yardage. I guess it's that yak yards that they talk about. And they really, I think, wore down Boonesboro. I think this is, Boonesboro is usually the one that's more physical, and I think this is one of those games where they got out-physicaled.
Boonesboro got out to a fast start as well. It led 14-7 at the end of one, and really kind of looked like it was going to be a track meet early on. But after that first quarter, it was pretty much all South.
Well, and what's deceiving about that is the final score for South, because South is only averaging like 10 points a game on giving up 10 points a game. The only two games that they've had over that has been the loss to Tuscarora, where they lost by a point, and this one. Every other one has been 13 points or under.
Speaking of defense, we've talked a lot about Boonesboro's defense and how it isn't this year what it usually is. They're giving up an average of 33 points a game right now. Only one time have they held an opponent under 20. Got to be a concern going forward.
Well, Coach Clayton Anders has been kind of, voicing that all along. And I mean, the two things that seem to be the constant is they don't cover the pass very well, because they've been riddled with it in 3 of these games where they've given up more than 300 yards. So, I mean, that's a problem. That's youth in a way. But a constant whenever I talk to Clayton after games, is the lack of really big speed on this team. There's a lot of games that he's talked about that if they don't stop the guy on the first wave of defense, that they're not going to catch him after he goes by, and that's going to be a problem.
Let's take a look at the 1A West standings going into the final week of play here. Fort Hill, Catoctin, Northern Garrett, all 7-1 going into the last week. They're locked into those top 3 spots in the region. Number 4 and 5 is where it gets a little bit interesting, Bob. Williamsport sitting at 4th right now. Boonesboro at number 5. We could see those flip, and we could see a first-round matchup between Boonesboro and Williamsport.
Well, either way, even if it stays the way it is, it's going to be a matchup. I think these guys are destined to play each other again. I don't know if anybody can sneak by either one of them, and I think it's going to come down to this in the first round, and I think it'll be a far more interesting game this time.
Yeah, those two teams are locked into the postseason at this point. Go a little further down, you have Brunswick at number 6, Clear Spring at 7. They're actually tied points-wise, but Clear Spring lost to Brunswick in week 2 of the season, so Brunswick has the tiebreaker. They're sitting there at number 6 right now. Clear Spring said they're this close to making the playoffs. About the only way that they could miss this week, miss the playoffs, is if they were to lose to Berkeley Springs, and Southern Garrett, Allegheny, and Mountain Ridge all win. They're all playing 7-1 teams this week, so it seems unlikely, but it looks like Clear Spring will get into the postseason.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a good reward for them, because I mean, they came really out of nowhere to win that 4 in a row, and it looked like they were going to be on a roll, and it's been a good story for them.
Mountain Ridge holding the bottom spot right now. They play Kaiser. Southern Garrett plays Northern Garrett. Allegheny playing at Fort Hill. Those are those games against the 7-1 team. So those are kind of the key matchups in 1A West going into the final week of the season. Stay with us. We'll have Bob back to talk about 3A West, North and South Hagerstown. South's in the playoffs. North's fighting to get in. We'll tell you what needs to happen there for the Hubs to get in the playoffs. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Jim Gross, and I'm very involved in our local sports community, as you may have seen me on the volleyball court, the wrestling mat, or the softball field officiating sports. I'm also the broker and owner of Absolute Real Estate, as I've been making it easy for over 20 years in Washington County for people to buy and sell homes. Call me, Jim Gross, at 301 888-788-7888 for absolutely the best in savings and service, and ask me about my sports organization donation program.
Access to high-speed internet is critical for school-aged children. Since 2014, Antietam Broadband and Washington County Public Schools have partnered to connect students and families in need with low-cost, high-speed internet service at home. Every child deserves an opportunity to succeed. Ask your child's teacher for more information on the Antietam EduNet program. A message from Washington County Public Schools and Antietam Broadband.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Bob Parcelletti still with me. We go from 1A West to 3A West football now. And don't look now, but North Hagerstown won 2 straight games, followed up that comeback win over Boonesboro a couple weeks ago with a victory over winless Hedgesville last week, 41-19. Bob, they're trying to get back into the playoffs for the first time since 2012. They were 1-5 a couple weeks ago, but yeah, they were just a couple close losses away from sitting at 5-3 or 6-2 right now. Close losses to Manchester Valley, Atholton, and Williamsport. You know, those games could have gone either way. We could be looking at a different North team right now.
Well, one of the quotes that Greg Staines gave me was that there are games here where he stays up at nights. You know, I mean, because they are so close, and then there's just something that doesn't happen. And we see that every once in a while. There's that I think I can attitude, but then all of a sudden it's So, I mean, I think the big thing is they finally found something to really hitch their wagon to. I think J-Naz Melendez has become the quarterback they had hoped he would be. He's been able to throw all over the place. He's done that for he didn't do it as much this past week because they ran a little bit more, but he's been doing it for the last couple of weeks, and they've really excelled on it. I mean, it's almost turned into arena football with them because they seem to throw a lot in a couple of these games. And it seems to be the thing that they really need to do. They really have to open things up, I think.
And we mentioned a couple of the records that Melendez set a couple weeks ago against Boonesboro, a couple more last week in the win over Hedgesville. He became North's all-time leader in yards and completions, also threw 3 more touchdown passes in that game. You mentioned they sort of ran the ball a little bit more in that when they had Antoine Cook with 138 yards and 2 touchdowns against Hedgesville. Have to figure they're going to have to find a way to mix in the run a little bit more here.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of finding something to hook on. I mean, if you have that threat of passing, it opens up the run all of a sudden a lot more, and especially on the high school level when a little bit of diversity goes a long way.
Especially you can look back into that Boonesboro game, not too far back, but certainly have to look at that as being just a huge, huge game for North Hagerstown, kind of getting them over the hump for this season.
Well, the thing that was kind of funny about, well, not funny, but what they really used as their mantra for that game was shock the county. You know, everybody was against them. They didn't think they were going to be doing it. I think from the Monday before that game, Coach Staines and his group said, we're going to go out and we're going to try to shock the county. And after the game, they were getting in their huddle and they were saying, we shocked the county, we shocked the county. And they were ecstatic. And I think they liked the feeling of winning that kind of game, you know. And that can be infectious, especially when you're in this kind of role. Now it's going to be a matter of if you can put up with the pressure, because if you win, you're possibly in, and if you lose, you're out for sure.
We talked about Boonesboro's defense, and we've mentioned North's defense a couple times as well, and they're giving up a lot of points, 37 points a game. This win over Hedgesville, the first time all season they've given up fewer than 20. Well, the good news is they're facing a Spring Mills team this week that, even though they're fighting for a playoff berth, they're not scoring much, only 14 points a game and only 8 points per game over the last 5. This might be just what the doctored order for the North defense.
Well, Spring Mills has been struggling because they have lots and lots of injuries. They lost their starting quarterback before the season. They lost their starting running back in the first game of the season. You know, so it's been all makeshift, and they've been relying on Chase Henson, who's their quarterback. He's the leading passer, the leading rusher, and he's the leading tackler on the team right now.
We mentioned North has a chance to get into the postseason. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Let's talk about South Hagerstown. We talked a little bit about South, that 43-24 win over Boonesboro. It's the first time that South and Boonesboro have played since 2014. This is 2 of the top teams in the county over the last decade or so, kind of a marquee matchup. But to say this game was bogged down by penalty flags, that's not an understatement in any way whatsoever.
Well, I thought this month was Think Pink, but it was Think Yellow on this game.
39 penalties, 268 yards marched off against both teams in this one. Honestly, it seemed like more than that. It took about 2 hours, 45 minutes to play the game. Now, that being said, South Hagerstown did come out on top. Boonesboro got the quick start, but from the second quarter on, it was all South Hagerstown. 517 yards of offense, big performances from O'Shane Thorpe, Khalil Booker, and Elijah Hill.
Yeah, it's really amazing to look at this team because you're talking about these big performances, but they have, none of them are over more than 600 yards of rushing. They're all like around, there's 3 guys in there that are like between 300 and 500. That says that they're pretty diverse. They don't throw a lot. They run hard. They try to be physical. That's their big mantra. They want to be physical. But it's the defense. If you're only giving up 10 points a game, you only have to score twice to win.
Yeah, that's South defense has been pretty good. Now, one thing that we did question a little bit about South is that passing defense. It kind of factored into their only loss this season against Tuscarora. Brady Ingram threw the ball pretty well for Boonesboro against South. And is that, do you see Williamsport going into the season finale looking to throw the ball a little bit more?
Well, you would think possibly, but I think what the thing that South does on defense, I don't think they think they're going to, stop everybody from throwing the ball, but they do that bend, don't break type thing. And when they do allow them to catch it, the guy pays for catching the ball too.
They are a physical team. They do like to hit, that's for sure. Well, let's take a look at the 3A West standings, where things are right now. South Hagerstown pretty much locked into a home game in the first round. They're sitting in third right now behind Linganore and Damascus, who leapfrogged over South from number 4 to number 2 this week. There is a scenario in which South could get the number 1 seed if Linganore and Damascus both lose and South beats Williamsport this week. Go on down, you don't see North Hagerstown on the list here. They're sitting in the 10th spot right now behind Frederick, who's at number 9. North needs to beat Spring Mills this week and have Tuscarora lose to Oakdale. That's a real possibility. Oakdale sitting at 5-3 right now. Tuscarora 3-5, and really have been sliding since beating North and South Hagerstown earlier.
Tuscarora's had a few injury problems, so that's hurt them. Because when they were here, they were pretty explosive, and they can throw the ball. The receiver, his last name's Addison, he's going to Pitt. So he's all set, and he's legit. But they've been really having trouble over the last course of the season, and they keep dropping down. So, yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, so North Hagerstown's path, they need to beat Spring Mills. Tuscarora lose to Oakdale. North would leap over Frederick, who gets a win this week over Thomas Johnson in a forfeit, but North would still leap over them. Bob, thanks a bunch for joining us. Appreciate it. Stay with us. Dan Kaufman's here with volleyball right after this.
Cynthia Moeller Sullivan of Sullivan Select Real Estate has been recognized by HomeLight in 3 categories: top overall producer, top seller's agent, and top agent that sells for more. Unlike other real estate venues, agents cannot pay to be recognized by HomeLight. If you are considering the sale of your home, call Cynthia for a free market analysis, 301-988-5115. When it comes to real estate, select the best with Sullivan Select.
Introducing Antietam Smart Wi-Fi, the ultimate home networking solution. Smart Wi-Fi expands your wireless network and can eliminate Wi-Fi dead zones. Adding Smart Wi-Fi access points creates a Wi-Fi blanket for all of your devices, so you get consistent wireless internet speeds anywhere in your house. So go ahead and browse, game, and stream video in any room. Make the most of your internet with Smart Wi-Fi from Antietam Broadband. Smart homes deserve smart Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We switch gears now from football to volleyball. Bring in Herald Mail insider Dan Kaufman. And Dan, before we get into the MPSSAA volleyball brackets, well, let's talk about some private school volleyball. And St. Maria Goretti ended out a great season by winning the Mercersburg Invitational.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning 2 matches to take what was their season-ending event. They finished 18-1 this season, which is the best year, as far as I know, that Goretti volleyball has ever had. Coach Lauren Henry is solidly in consideration for Coach of the Year honors after that effort. This is the second program that she's turned around this decade. She helped Grace Academy, really elevated that program in the 4 years that she was there, doing the same thing with Goretti. And this was a very deep team, a very talented team that she really developed over the span span of 2 or 3 seasons, players like Kyria Stubbs, Peyton Kirshner, Jade Stewart, and others definitely all contributing. There were probably 6 or 7 contributors. I just named a couple off the top of my head. But a great season for them, and definitely deserves a round of applause.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about the public school teams here, especially when it comes to volleyball. Certainly want to give the private schools some love. So congratulations to Goretti on a great season. Now let's get into the public schools. In the MPSSAA brackets were drawn for the volleyball tournament on Monday. The tournament starts on Thursday. Actually, games will be going on, matches will be going on as this show airs on Thursday. Let's start with Class 1A West, Dan, Region 2. One of those games that's going on Thursday, Hancock playing at Brunswick. The winner of that one has a tough task. They get to go up against Clear Spring on Monday.
Well, maybe not as tough as we might think. Brunswick's a solid favorite to get past Hancock. Brunswick beat Clear Spring earlier in the regular season. That was the upset of the year as far as I'm concerned. So Clear Spring's going to go into that semifinal looking for a little bit of retribution, assuming it is Brunswick across the net from them. Certainly Clear Spring didn't play great that first match. Clear Spring's kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde team over the last month of the season. They've had a couple surprising losses, a couple uneven matches. So they need to get back to kind of the form that they were showing in September and certainly the form they showed last November when they won their state title. They can do it, but you got to go out and play too.
So that match will be on Monday, November 4th. Also Monday, November 4th, will be Catoctin, the number 3 seed, playing at Smithsburg, and the Leopards. You don't certainly want to count them out this time of year.
Not. And they're better now, as we said. They're better now, especially with Sydney Hammond healthy again and back on the court. They're better now than they were back in early September. This is a dangerous team, and they're going to be looking for their own retribution. Now, Catoctin's not a pushover. They're going to have to concentrate to get past the Cougars. They're dangerous. But then, if they get Clear Spring in the final, that's the rematch of the infamous 5-set upset last year, and Smithsburg's going to want to be out to get back in that state title picture. Clear Spring's going to love to get a chance to play them again, get that atmosphere, especially on Clear Spring's court, which would be a little different this year. That would be a very, very awesome final if it happens, and I think it will happen.
Well, that final would be on Wednesday, November 6th. We'll see how that one turns out in 1A West. Let's go to 2A West now. Region 2 also. Starting off match happening here this evening. Poolesville playing at Walkersville. That's number 5 against number 4 seed. The winner of that one plays at top-seeded Oakdale on Monday the 4th. Over on the other side of the bracket, 2 Washington County teams there. On Thursday night, Seneca Valley at Boonesboro. That's the number 6 and number 3 seeds playing. Boonesboro playing well this time of year.
Yeah, and I think Boonesboro is going to get past that matchup. Certainly if they play the way they're capable of playing, with Stacia Galagli playing well, and they've got enough talent that they should be able to get through, and that's going to leave them against Williamsport in the semifinals. And that's certainly the match that they're going to have circled right now. They believe, as they should, that they can make a dent against one of these top 2A teams. So this will be their chance. If they get past Seneca Valley, they get their opportunity. And for Williamsport, they're without Mackenzie Pryor right now because of a bulky back. I asked Karen Moyer on email today what her status is, and she's still out indefinitely, so it doesn't look like she's going to be back, at least for this first match or two. But Williamsport has enough depth to, they're probably the deepest team in the county. When you look at their 7 or 8 deep lineup, they've got the weapons to be able to overcome that. They've always played team ball. They'll be confident against Boonesboro, and then it would come down to the final, and almost certainly it would come down to Oakdale.
The Wildcats playing Middletown Thursday night. That possible Boonesboro-Williamsport match would be Monday the 4th. And how would Boonesboro or Williamsport stack up against Oakdale?
Yeah, Williamsport played Oakdale, and it was a 5-set match with Oakdale prevailing. Oakdale has won the last, I believe, 4 matches that they've played. They have not met in the playoffs for about 5 years, though. So a Williamsport-Oakdale region final would be a big deal. It would be very competitive. Oakdale would go in as the favorite, especially at home. But certainly nobody would count Williamsport out. It would be a very good match. I would be shocked if it was a sweep in either direction. So it would be a very competitive, close match.
Okay, let's keep going up the ladder here. Go to 3A West, Region 1, South Hagerstown and North Hagerstown. In this one, a match happening on Thursday night. Linganore, the 5th seed, playing at South Hagerstown, number 4. The winner of that one gets a tough task in number 1 Tuscarora.
Yeah, Tuscarora is the team to beat in this region. They've proved that during the regular season, especially with their win over North Hagerstown earlier this season en route to winning the CMC Spires division. South Hagerstown can get past Linganore. South has already beaten Linganore once this year, the regular season meeting. South is actually playing well this time of year as well. I think they've won 5 or 6 in a row heading in. So they're going to have some confidence going. Like I said, that Linganore match is a very winnable match, but they're going to have to, if they get past Linganore, Tuscarora is going to take their A++ game. That's a very tough challenge.
Over on the other side, North Hagerstown with a bye Thursday night. They'll play the winner of Thomas Johnson and Frederick on Monday. The Hubs, we could see that Hubs-Tuscarora matchup here in the final.
Absolutely. And first of all, they can't overlook Frederick. Frederick, not the best record in the world, but they do have some talent. They've put some good results together, a couple good results together when you look at their schedule and their results. So that's a match that North can't overlook. North, I think their issue has been consistency all season. They have talent. Even their young pieces have shown flashes this year. It's just about, can we put it together for an entire match against a good team? And certainly if they wind up in a final against Tuscarora, they're going to have to show that consistency, because they would not beat Tuscarora with a so-so effort. So they're capable, but they're going to be underdogs, and we'll see how they embrace the challenge.
Okay. Dan Kaufman, thanks for joining us. Stay with us. We'll wrap things up right after this.
Introducing Antietam Smart Wi-Fi, the ultimate home networking solution. Smart Wi-Fi expands your wireless network and can eliminate Wi-Fi dead zones. Adding Smart Wi-Fi access points creates a Wi-Fi blanket for all of your devices, so you get consistent wireless internet speeds anywhere in your house. So go ahead and browse, game, and stream video in any room. Make the most of your internet with Smart Wi-Fi from Antietam Broadband. Smart homes deserve Smart Wi-Fi.
Hello, my name is Jim Gross, and I'm very involved in our local sports community, as you may have seen me on the volleyball court, the wrestling mat, or the softball field officiating sports. I'm also the broker and owner of Absolute Real Estate, as I've been making it easy for over 20 years in Washington County for people to buy and sell homes. Call me, Jim Gross, at 301-788-7888 for absolutely the best in savings and service, and ask me about my sports organization donation program.
Welcome back to the show. We're in that time of the year where quite a lot happens between the time we record our show and the first time it airs. So we want to give you a quick glance at some of the events that happened before we went to air today. The state golf tournament was held Tuesday and Wednesday at College Park. 2 golfers from Washington County were scheduled to participate. Boonesboro's Jackson Schultz in the Class 2A 1A field, and South Hagerstown's Lexi Parrott in the Class 4A 3A field. We'll have Tim Kelby here next week to fill us in on how they did and wrap up the golf season. The MPSSAA Region Cross Country meets were scheduled for Thursday afternoon. The 3A West meet, featuring North and South Hagerstown, was at Thomas Johnson High School in Frederick. Boonesboro ran in the 2A West meet at Liberty High School in Carroll County, and the 1A West meet at Smithsburg High School featured Clear Springs, Smithsburg, and Williamsport. Andy Mason will join me next week to talk about those meets and preview the state meet, which will be run at Hereford High School on Saturday, November 9th. 3 county teams advanced to the region finals in soccer. Clear Springs girls hosted Smithsburg in the 1A West Region 2 final Tuesday, while Williamsport played host to Francis Scott Key on the boys' side of that 1A West bracket. Winners advanced to the state quarterfinals, which will be played either Friday, November 1st or Saturday, November 2nd. State semifinals are November 8th or 9th, and state finals are November 14th through the 16th. Kevin Dunleavy will be here next week to catch us up on what happened in those games. Also, don't forget our final live event of the season Friday, November 1st, as Boonesboro travels to Smithsburg for the regular season finale in high school football. Coach Randy Longnecker joins me on the call. Pre-game begins at 6:45 with kickoff scheduled for 7 p.m. You can see that game right here on WCL-TV, Channel 6 and 806, or any of our previous broadcasts on the WCL-TV On The Go app for your mobile phone or tablet, or you can view our live stream of the events on Antietam Broadband's website at myactv.net. Finally, don't forget about us on social media. On Twitter, we are at Inside Sports OL. On Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, it's at Inside Sports Now. My thanks to Bob Parcelletti and Dan Kaufman for being here today, and thank you for tuning in, as always, to Inside Sports. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets. mother.